So for week 5, we're going to do CSS for both our normal due dates of the week. So I'm going to name the first one Part 1 and cleverly Part 2 for the second one. So for this week, of course you have your markdown file, but what changes this week is the folder itself. So if I pull up the markdown file here at the top of the document, what you can see is here is the format of the folder you're going to create. If you wanted to see it as far as the way it looks in here, right? It's here, so it's underscore CSS part 1. The one thing you could do is go ahead and bring over that CSS markdown file. But if you want, you can also start a new one just that'd be unique to this folder, but it's really up to you as long as you have that folder. I think the idea of having a file that you're updating each week is better. But if that file's getting pretty long and you want to make that only specific for here, you could in your markdown file somehow note that. But as long as you're taking notes, that's what I would care about. So you're going to set up this folder and bring over that file or not, like I just talked about, but each chapter, right? So the first one, you don't have to bring over the HTML and the CSS from what would be our last one that we did, which would be 7. You can just start creating new pages and a CSS file. Or you could bring them over and delete them. It's really up to you. Or the other way is just go out to Dave's site and grab, right, that content. It's totally fine. And we'll do that for every chapter that we do this week. Okay? So just know that that's the case. Like here's where I'm telling you put some notes in there about pseudo elements, right? Should have been reset, styling the nav. Yeah, so on chapter 9, at the very end, Dave actually did a little mini project, and man, I think that's so good to do. So I said this was optional, and I talked about it here right before you started 10, and oh, I got the time wrong on that one, doesn't? I'll fix that. But here's what I ended up doing, and you can, it's up to you, is I copied after we did the menu. I thought that menu was nice and clean, and I liked the way it was done. So just so I'd have it easily for reference later, I did mini project underscore chapter 9. But you don't have to. It's really up to you. I did it because I wanted to have it. Okay. So in this case, some of the things that we learn about are just really good to have, floats, of course, how to do columns. Those are awesome. I really liked some of this Unicode stuff. That was fun. I think the thing I had not been through was this root flow on the columns. I thought that was really fun to learn about because it's basically responsive without what we're going to learn, which is grid and flex. So that's cool, right? So I do offer breaks in this week. Remember how they work. If you have any questions, make sure you read through this. There'll be 2 chapters after if you want to take a break, so make sure you know how those things go. So there's a couple things I want to make sure you're taking special note on this week, which is, again, bringing back this specificity, easy word to say, site, and I provided in here so that you can, because CSS kind of, and you've heard me talk about this in the attendance this week, some of the kind of the memes around it is you're not quite sure why they don't work and then why they do work. And this calculator will really help that concept of understanding why something might not be showing up. And Dave does a really good in my opinion, an example of where that comes in handy. So understanding and using that is really helpful. The other thing that Dave talks about, and I feel like has just been kind of covered some, not enough, is the idea of page flow. So I recommend going out, like I did just a CSS page normal flow, right? And it's the idea of the way the block and the inline elements display in order for the page layout, how it looks. Of course, you're coding it in one way, but the way it is rendered to the user based on the way you have styled your CSS might be normal flow, but there are certain things that you do that take it out of that. And so it used to be called normal flow. It's called flow layout now. And here is a CSS link or a MDM link to read more about that. And I definitely think this is worthy of a look through. Okay, let's see. Let's go back here. So that was the things I wanted to make sure I pointed out. This time you do get a file like we've done before, so you've seen how to do that off of Dave's site. So hopefully that won't be a challenge for you. Otherwise, like I said, really good stuff this week. And pace yourself accordingly. If you find yourself just coding and not really thinking about what you're doing, take breaks. Because sometimes if you go too long, it just starts to be like I'm doing it and not really thinking about it. I noticed that was true for me when I did this section, so I really was more conscious about taking breaks. All right, hope this helps. Talk to you later.